So let me paint this picture for you, okay?
All right.
It's going into hour 16. It was supposed to be a day shoot. You're now looking at it's almost going to be an overnight shoot, okay? You have the PAs going into their own clique. You have camera department going into their own clique. Everyone's starting to plan mutiny on set. They're planning a coup, basically. And they're not going to show up tomorrow. Like, you know that talk, right?
Oh, yeah.
You've been on this.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that's... I feel like we fall in those situations all too often. And it's just a result of, like, not leading the set correctly. I feel like... someone who is completely opposite of all of that would be Norry, in my opinion. Like, he is like the opposite, most perfect set, magic tricks, all that kind of stuff. Just the way he leads the set, the way how calm the set is. You never hear yelling on set.
Yeah, recently this year I've gotten the chance to work with him. I think he is legitimately one of the like nicest people like on set, especially a director who knows the crew's names. You know, who will always say hi to you on set. That kind of respect for the crew really transcends, you know, and it really makes you want to work like a lot harder for him. And like you said, he really does control, you know, and manage his crew so well that, you know, people trust him.
Yeah. I remember the first shoot I was on with him, he brought up a bunch of kolaches and donuts for the G&E and the camera crew.
That's awesome.
And I was like, what? Like, I was like, because I don't think we were going to have breakfast that day.
Yeah.
So he brought them all up, and I was like, that seems kind of insignificant.
Yeah.
And then, like, everyone, like, was like, loved him. And, like, those, you would have thought they were the best kolaches in the world.
Yeah, that
the way
doesn't
that people
surprise
reacted.
me, yeah.
But it was so cool just the way that it totally changed the, it brought such like a sense of loyalty almost.
Yeah,
and it's such a small thing, but it's like I feel like Norry is just full of like it just, to me, it speaks about the details and caring about your crew, just those little things.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I worked with him, like I had met him once before, you know, and then that next day he's like, "Hey, Michael, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, like, you know my name? Like, I met you maybe like for a few seconds." Like, I think those moments like really kind of like stick out to me.
Yeah.
Make me just want to work for you like way more, way harder, and just, you know, come out with an awesome product together.
Yeah.
So
I feel like he's very much the person above the project, but at the same time, by putting the person before the project, really the project ends up benefiting.
Yeah. You guys had such a good conversation, man. Like, it was really cool listening to so many of his stories. You know, he's been in the industry for so long. You know, he's got some really cool stories.
Yeah, he looks at things a little bit differently than everyone else.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that part you had mentioned earlier before we started recording about turkeys and zeros and heroes.
Eagles.
Or eagles, that's
Eagles,
what it was.
yeah.
Not heroes. I don't know where that was from. Do you want to explain that quickly?
Yeah, so basically you want eagles like on your team. Eagles are the people that'll go like above and beyond. Zeros are the people that will just kind of be there for the job and go home. And then turkeys are like, you basically bad apples. You know, if you have a turkey on your squad, you know, like it's going to breed more turkeys. So just basically not hiring turkeys, finding those people, you know, picking them out and then just not hiring them again. Just really focusing on the eagles. Is such a good point, you know, like I've never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, because it's interesting. You may have like a stellar crew, but you bring in one or two people that are lazy or negative or anything like that, and it tends to just be infectious.
It just brings the rest of the crew down.
Yeah, well, it's like, to me, instantly in my mind, it's like when either I or producers hire someone lesser just because they didn't cost as much.
Yeah.
It's like you might even be better without that position on set as a whole.
Yeah.
Versus bringing in a turkey that's going to bring down your key players, your eagles.
Or just making that tough call and paying somebody a little bit more because they will bring the quality of the whole production up.
Oh yeah, $200, like $200 difference. Is that really worth what's going to happen long run?
Yeah. And you guys mentioned like, you know, hiring people that you don't know. You know, you have to find references or like through word of mouth, and sometimes that is a risk, but you know, just being able to like really manage that on set and figuring out quickly like if they are up to par or not.
Yeah, sweet. Let's go and jump into it.
Absolutely.
So I tell people, that 40,000 years ago there was a cave in south of France, right? In that cave there are 1,000 drawings, red drawings of horses and animals in movement, okay, on the cave walls. Really beautiful. So you might imagine that stories were being told in the dark with a firelight flickering on the cave wall and music being played. The first record we have of humanity was a movie, right? That's a motion picture. It's alive and moving, and the shadows are happening, and the animals look like they were moving on the wall. This is an old thing that we've been doing forever to get our dreams out, right? So when you think about it as an industry, really, as odd as it seems in a business world with doctors and lawyers and in this part of the world, oil, engineers, it's truly an ancient discipline, despite the technology that we've invented and that we had to invent. We almost had to invent electric light in order to do projectors and chemical formulations for film, because we have dreams that we want to get out, right? So I think once you start thinking about the business in that fashion, it becomes less, it becomes more tangible. It becomes more approachable as a business model, because you have a redeeming inherent need to express yourself from your dreams, right? You can't talk about dreams. And in a book, you can read and you can formulate visions in your mind. But if you project those visions on a screen and they're common among everyone in the room, that's magic. It's really, truly, it's a spiritually uplifting exercise. What we do is important.
Thank you so much for coming, Norry.
Thanks for having me.
That's always a pleasure.
Likewise.
So, man, if you want to maybe just give a little bit of a backstory.
Sure. I am a director and sometimes director cameraman. And I've been shooting since I was a child. I used to shoot Super 8 movies of commercials on television and order the product, get it home, and then reshoot it not working, and then edit it into the commercial, and then we project it for our friends on Sundays. So that process taught me a lot about patience, because you have to send the cartridge, you go to the drugstore and you mail it to Kodak, and they would process it. And then they would call my parents and let them know when it was there, and then I'd have to get them to drive me to the, to the pharmacy to go pick up the film, and then editing it with a razor blade was not good for a child probably to have and do, but you learn. And I used to do and still do magic. I find that the two things are very similar, right? There's still a sense of timing. There's an audience expectation. It's music, it's light, and it's, and you hope to tickle people and have them guessing, how did you do that at the end of the day? So, I've been professionally directing since I was in college. I had a music video on MTV when I was, 19, maybe. And I used those music videos to get some attention after I got out of school, and I got repped in LA, and I got to, meet David Fincher, and Tarzim was repped by the same production company I was repped by. Zack Snyder and I started the same day. They got us a rental car, Mustang HO, and put us up at the Mondrian Hotel on Sunset, and he looked at me over lunch, and he said, "What happens next, Norry?" And if I'd had a time machine, I would have said, "Zach, you're going to be doing $200 million Superman movies. How's that?" So from there, being repped by a production company, I found that I couldn't spend more money than I had because it wasn't my money. And they would say, "You need to shoot 16 millimeter on this job," and I wanted to shoot 35 millimeter. And that got frustrating. Now I have perspective, and I was just being a brat, apparently. But at the time, I was like, I'm tired of this. I'm going to start my own company. So I came back to Dallas, started my own production company, and that was 25 years ago. I have clients today like Showtime that I've had that whole time, and continue to do work for. So it's been really good, and that process of kind of going to Mecca of working in Los Angeles hasn't stopped either. You know, I continue to go there for work, and I still have my family there, my crew that I've worked with forever that I love. I've got family crew here, obviously, New York, Miami, Chicago, Vancouver, very close to my crew in Vancouver, London. You know, at some point you wake up and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, I have crew in Paris, Rome. So, you know, it's good. And we all are family. You know, you relate to film folks differently than regular folks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's an unspoken love and trust I think we have for one another. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I know I got to meet some of your Orlando family the other day and make them part of my family. That was fun.
Good.
That was really fun.
Good.
One of the things, just kind of jumping off, one of the things we worked together was that month and a half, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Was it longer?
Yeah.
It was a bit ago, but when we were working together, just the way that you led the set really stuck out to me. Like, I mean, you were doing like magic tricks during the set. Like, you were like doing just all these different things. It was very unique. I've never worked with a director that did that kind of a thing, but it was crazy, the environment, especially like when you have an AD that's like really like just like pushing on things and you're maybe running behind by a few minutes, and it's like when you took time to do a magic trick in the middle, and it's like, okay, we can spare 2 minutes, let's just do this, and you did it, and it was funny how you could tangibly feel the environment change on set. And I think there's so much value that maybe isn't seen just at face value.
I think it's an incredibly complicated art form. It's incredibly expensive. There's so many connecting elements for it to work well. I love watching a tightrope act where the guy has the pole when he's walking across, right? And then suddenly he stumbles and he drops the pole. And now he is up there without the pole, but you now know it was part of the show. So I think the mastery of the craft at some point becomes, it looks carefree, you know? I think at some point it should look easy. And on set, I don't think you have time for any nonsense. But for me, having the attention of the crew, in particular the actors, if they're connected and they know they're protected, that's first and foremost safety, making sure everyone's safe, right? Making sure everyone got enough sleep, they're not too hot, not too cold, you know? Yeah. Those things that's number one. And I think once the crew understands that you have their safety in mind, more like a parent, you know, then we start there. The actors know they won't get direction from anyone else. Script Soup's not going to come over to them and say, you missed this word. That won't happen, right? They know that I have their back, and then it's just the two of us are in this game together. I'll let them know, and we'll be very quiet about it, right? I've been on sets for TV shows and movies where the director was in the director's chair screaming across the set at the talent. And I mean, these are A-list directors. I can't work like that.
When you shared the story the other day, I saw that, was it Mariah Carey, I think?
Right, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, she and Nicki Minaj were at each other's throat when they showed up, and there was some bad press going on, and I had to figure a way to break the ice. So I pretended I was kidnapping her, which she thought was hysterical. I said, we're going to go to New Orleans. We're going to get out of here, Mariah. This is the first thing I said to her when I met her in the back of this SUV. And she died laughing. Her manager, her agent, her attorney weren't happy, but...
Because you just jumped in the SUV and took off, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just took it.
Yeah. Nothing like shocking your talent into reality. And it's different for everyone. If I can do a magic trick for a kid, for a child on set, I have their attention all day, right? They're not thinking about anybody else or candy or anything else. It's the two of us, right? So the same kind of happens for crew, right? Instead of the key grip over there texting, his next job or watching, Game of Thrones on his phone, I want them engaged with me on set. So if I have to say, read their minds or, give them an idea that something was going to happen later, they're with me. That plus the fact that, we're all on the same team. We're all trying to do something together. Matthew Modine and I worked together on a job. I'm a huge fan of Stanley Kubrick, huge Stanley Kubrick fan. And he directed quietly, I'm told by Matthew. He would just, once he spoke, you could hear a pin drop on set, right? I think that quality of leadership on set is so important. I think if you silently demand respect or quietly observe and you're not shouting direction and everything is planned and decisive. Spielberg had a great one. He says, someone brings 2 shirts to you, a green one and a red one, pick it quick, right? And they say, which one, Steve? The red one. He goes, I might be wrong. Later on we might look and the red shirt's against a red wall and we're like, oh, that was a bad choice, right? But I got it off the mark. And that quick decision making, even though it was just with the stylist next to the trailer, transmits. It's like quantum. It's instant in the water. Like the moment blood hits the water, the shark knows 5 miles away, right? The moment there's indecisiveness in the cockpit, the whole crew knows, all the way to the back of the airplane. Everyone knows immediately. It's just transformative. And once the indecisions start occurring, all the departments start questioning what they're doing. And they worry about, is this right or is this wrong? So I think decisions have to be made in advance. So in your prep work, like on our location scouting, we're talking lenses, we're talking light, we're talking time of day, we're talking styling, we're talking art direction. All of that stuff happens before we get there. And so I think your crew needs to know that. They need to know that you've got confidence in what you have to get. And if it's going to be a 12-hour day, we're going to say it up front, and you're going to know it won't be a minute over 12 hours, right?
Yeah.
So if you can walk that tightrope and continue to entertain the audience, at the same time to keep everyone engaged.
So like on shoots that are super disorganized, where like maybe you as a director, like you haven't been given the direction exactly by agency fully, and you're kind of trying to figure it out as you go somewhat. Is that something you would share with your crew and let them know, hey, we're not completely sure on this, ride with me? Or do you just try to hold it together? Because I know that's a situation that shouldn't happen, but definitely happens.
When that usually happens is when agency hasn't done their homework, or they haven't looked at what we've presented to them, and sometimes that'll happen late in the game. I've been able to learn from the experience on how to manage that. So I don't, like when the pre-production meeting with the agency is short, something's wrong. Like if we have a 1-hour meeting, I'll call a red flag on it. I was like, let's back up, everyone. Clearly, this meeting should not have been this quick. We're missing some things. Let me explain what we're going to do again.
Yeah.
And let me show you, the colors of the fabric on the couch in the background, because I don't want us to be on set and have that happen.
Yeah.
That's usually when it happens. It's when creative says, wait a minute, we didn't talk about this. Or,
what would you do if you find maybe you don't anymore, but what would you do if you do find yourself on set in that situation? Like, how do you manage your crew at that point? That's a tricky one. I'd just like to say, I always work with quality advertising agencies, and there's never any indecisiveness. So you're walking into it now, like you're always planned heading into it, and you're call flag on the play before you get to that point.
I hope so.
Try and be preemptive, yeah.
But if there's a problem, like, well, we were in the jungles in Puerto Rico,
Oh,
right?
no big deal, yeah.
Right? And we're shooting Phantom, right? So we're doing 1,000 frames a second, and that was the plan going in.
Yeah.
The agency client, right, who's with us, said, I want that actor to say these words at the end of the commercial, right? We didn't have sound. But guess what? I had my 5D and I had my Rode mic on it. And so I got, this close to the actor and sounded pretty good. And 6 months later, my wife and I are watching a movie, and on the screen comes this commercial that we shot with that piece of dialogue, right? So that could have been bad, but we made it just by, dumb luck.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, and did you let the crew know what was going on, or
Sure.
were you pretty transparent about that?
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
transparency is the key for a commercial.
Yeah. I just always wonder, because personally for me, it's like when I'm on set, and even if I'm not, like, if I'm just DPing it, not just DPing it, like, that's what my main thing, but it's like if I'm DPing something and I haven't been giving full direction on what we're doing, it's like sometimes it feels, there's always that balance, like, am I being a leader if I'm letting them know that we don't know exactly where we're going, but we'll figure it out together? Or is it more like I should be faking it and making it seem like I know where we're going so that they don't feel like we're completely lost?
Well, there are two schools of thought. One, say, if it's documentary style, you really don't know where you're going. You have a rough plan.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that. If you're doing something with, say, a small child, we call it Ebelize. There's a director in Chicago named Ebel, and he would build these duck blinds, right? These hallways of, duvetine that the kids would walk down to get to the set, and they would never see the crew. I totally stole that. That's what we do with children now. And I try to do that with celebrities. Like we did that with J-Lo. I had a tunnel built from her trailer all the way to the set, where she didn't see paparazzi, she didn't see crew, she just came straight to me. So those situations, the crew knows, right? They know I'm not going to be in the eye line, I'm not going to be behind the camera, I'm not, we work toward, trying to create something together.
Yeah.
So even in those situations, I think the crew needs to know, it'll be a moving target, and I guess I don't have moments. There are moments in prep that are, we were working with Puff Daddy last year, and the morning of, the Fox team showed up, and they didn't like the background that we'd built. And so we sent art department, on a 2-hour run to go find this other set piece that we found that we liked that was on the other side of LA. That could have been catastrophic, right? A 2-hour shutdown. But we managed to shoot other elements, and everyone knew, and they adapted, and we changed what we were doing to shoot.
And you were just fully transparent about, hey, this is what's going to happen now.
Yeah.
Because this didn't happen, and you were just...
They know.
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah.
No one. There's no surprises, I think. But you adapt.
Yeah. It was just something that's come up, I feel like, multiple times for me, where it's like sometimes I don't know, and it's like, especially when I'm dealing with most of my crew, I try to hire people that are much more experienced than me, much older than me, because I know that they bring so much more than I could bring to set. That they're making me look good.
Yeah.
And it's also like, sometimes it's like when I don't fully know where we're going, I don't want to like lie to them and be like, oh, it's all going to be great. Like, we totally know where we're going. But it's like, I know they're experienced enough to know like when things aren't.
Sure. I mean, I hope I always have a plan.
Yeah.
I hope I always have a really good game plan going in, so that the DP and the crew know. But, even then, you'll have a client that'll, suddenly say, well, I know we talked about, shooting this outdoors, but I think I want to be indoors.
Yeah.
And so instead of, my 21-year-old self saying, well, that's stupid, that's not what we talked about at all, I will pause and think about it and say, okay, yeah, we can figure that out, right? There are no bad ideas.
Yeah.
There's just, bad attitudes. Ideas are easy to manufacture. We can do anything. We're filmmakers, right?
Yeah. I think taking kind of a 90-degree pivot off that, you talking about bad attitudes there. This leads to something that I feel like I've been running into increasingly on set, where I've had people complaining about their pay.
Mm-hmm.
I get to hear about it and be like, they're not paying me this, they're not paying me that, and it's like, okay, well, did you say yes? Okay, well, you said yes, so
Right.
It's kind of like you shouldn't have said yes if you didn't agree with what they were paying you, and you
Right.
should have had that conversation.
Right.
And once you said yes, I no longer, like, it's, to me, it's no longer my right to complain about what I'm getting paid from the second I say yes.
Right.
Because it was completely my decision.
Right. When I was your age, I had the opportunity to go to dinner with a guy who started TGI Fridays. I think his first restaurant was in Arlington. And we revisited the restaurant. He'd long since sold out, right, and retired. And the waitress came by and took our order, and she walked away. And he said, "She's a 0." I was like, "No, she's cute. No, she's not a 0. Come on, dude." He's like, "No. He goes, "When we only hired Eagles. An Eagle is someone who turns on your customers." He would say, "What did you have for dinner last night?" Fridays. "I don't know. I had a great waiter, though. His name was Mark, and he really was fabulous, and we had so much fun, and he took great care of us, and we can't wait to come back." And he's like, "Okay, so an Eagle may not necessarily get to work on time every day, but they are a pleasure to be around. They're a pleasure to work with, and they are infectious, right? A positive attitude." He goes, "I hired too many Eagles." He goes, "I didn't have places for them, but I knew all the Eagles I met, I was going to hire." A 0 is someone who comes to work, gets their job done, goes home. They don't affect anyone. They're just empty set. A turkey, right, will turn off your clients, will be negative, will say, "I shouldn't be waiting tables. I should be running the bar. I should be managing this restaurant. If I were doing this, I would have that item on the menu and I wouldn't have that item on the menu," right? They're complaining. He said, what happens is when Eagles come to work with you, they come to apply with you, they'll sniff out a turkey. They'll see that there's a turkey working somewhere in your group. And he goes, and here's the rule. Eagle will fly with a 0, but an Eagle will not fly with a turkey. And if you let one turkey in the group, you get a flock of turkeys. So I've tried to follow that when we hire, from the production assistants all the way up. Because even a bad PA can turn off a client. It can be, "Oh, no, I should be directing. I would have put the camera over there," right?
Yep.
So I find that people that complain about their salary, whatever that is,
Here's your turkeys.
they're not. So you shouldn't be flying with them. They shouldn't be part of the flock, I think. Because that's negative, right? And so, people that are complaining about salaries, I mean, I know, right? A director's vision is you cut your arms off to get your crane shot, Yeah. You're like, "No, I have to have the helicopter. I don't care what it costs," right? So the director, that's a whole other thing, right? They're going to be selfish and they're going to
until the end for the product.
They don't care. They don't care. And to a certain extent, I would assume, most cinematographers feel that way.
Yeah.
So what you get is a relationship that's built on the art form, and if that translates to the production assistants or the stylist or the script supervisor or the key grip, then great. They feel like they're a part of it as well, that they're engaged, that they have a sense of the magic that's going on set. Bless you. But I don't think that I don't think you want to have people complaining about their rates. Agreed with you 100%. If they've agreed to do it.
That's just a really interesting perspective of trying not to even have those people on set.
They can go work for someone else. Because my people know they're going to do a good job. I'm going to hire them again. We're going to work together again.
What do you do when you're looking for crew, especially in maybe some place you haven't gone yet?
You ask around. You try to get good recommendations.
I know I found myself. I've started
Yeah.
looking at their Instagrams and their Facebooks before I even call them.
Yeah.
But I partially felt a little bit creepy, but it was like, I want to make sure these people are,
Yeah.
I want to make sure they align with what my crew aligns with. And
Yeah. I get it. I don't know that I necessarily would rely on my Instagram feed for my Instagram feed is like a gerbil in a cage upstairs. Every now and then I need to go feed it. I keep forgetting about it. Like, I need to give it some water. But yeah, I think word of mouth. You get good recommendations. Usually the keys will have good people around them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
And even now, like I said, 20 years of working in LA, there were some bad days. We had some bad days. Like on the second stage, I hear, that there's some tension going on between the key grip and the gaffer. And I'm like, what is going on, right? These guys are like my family. Then I find out, that there was some internal, struggling going on between them. So we made decisions to change that. So now,
How do you approach those situations?
We just don't ask them to come back. We don't ask usually it's, one person's fault, and then we just hire someone else. Right?
Do you do that mid-shoot, or is that just
No.
you wait till end of shoot and then
Yeah, usually after.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's bold. That'd have to be a pretty bad situation.
No, that's, I've seen it where I had ADs were tough with me starting out. I had a hard time finding the right assistant director because usually, no offense to ADs, but sometimes they can be really loud. I remember we were scouting a location, and it was the first day of the tech scout, but because of scheduling, we had to have the clients with us. So I had the advertising agency in one 15-passenger van, crew in the other, and we pull up to the location, and the assistant director who had been given to me gets out and says, okay, we're going to put the camera here. I was like, no, we're not. This is the first time we've gotten here. We're not going to put the camera here. No. So he did this a couple of more times. I said, could you just please go back to the van and stay there until the scout's over, right? And then I'll let you know what the schedule is going to be, right? So I never worked with that AD again, but my best friend is my AD now out of Austin, and he's incredible. And he and I communicate like ants. We don't have to speak. We get it. If there's any sort of tension at all, or there's any sort of problems at all, he and I are on it. So,
what to you makes a good first AD? Like, what makes him?
I think the quality in an assistant director that I feel like everyone yearns for is someone who can control the set without being a dictator, right? That can properly put a schedule together that's thoughtful to the crew and to the client's needs as well. So it's someone who really is kind of super, is a superhero. Someone who does an incredible schedule, who operates the set with total control, that allows you as a director your freedom to manage the actors and not have to worry, about schedule and safety. I think those are the big components. And I like omniscience. I love having an AD who is very well aware of what's going on outside or in the parking lot or on the next setup, right? And who really can control their seconds properly so that they are managed and everyone knows, okay, we're at extras holding, what's going on over there and when are we going to need them, so that we're not waiting for something.
Yeah.
That to me is a great AD, someone who's thought through the entire day and has an answer every time you turn around. It's hard, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So jumping back into it, just talking about, we were talking a little bit about complaining about pay and all that.
Right.
I think that kind of leads into free work.
Right.
And stuff that kind of just maybe a view on maybe when people offer you a lower rate job or stuff like that, what goes into that decision process for you?
It's funny you brought that up. I'm doing a film right now I'm producing for two young directors. They're 16 years old, but they're doing a film about school shootings. And it's such a compelling story from a high school aged mind that I'm not qualified to tell that story. But a teenager in high school is. So this seems like a really important project to donate my time and my effort for. So I think, when an agency comes to me, like they do all the time right now for some reason, and they want a favor job, well, I think that it's a relationship builder. It's an opportunity for me to help the agency grow. It's an opportunity for me to sharpen my skill set. A director that I used to bid a lot against, Marcus Nispel is his name. Marcus told me, he said, I challenge you to look at my reel and tell me what's a big budget spot and what's a no budget spot, right? So I think you put the same effort and time into it because we're only on Earth for so long, whether it's free or not, right? Did a Make-A-Wish commercial with the Texas Rangers, and absolutely zero budget, no money, right? So we have the Phantom, we have grip trucks, and everyone's donating their time and effort for that cause because it's such an important cause. So I think those are deciding factors. If it's something that's going to, if I'm donating my time and my energy toward something that's say going to be a reel builder for another director and they're not on my roster, right? I'm not interested, right? So those are decision, is it for a worthy cause, number one? Do we think we can do something good? Would be number two. Is it a relationship builder with an agency? It's all of those factors. And I tend to not get approached about, I get a lot of screenplays and a lot of people who want to, make movies or documentaries, and you try to approach all of them with respect and dignity. And the ones that I don't have time to read, I'll just say, I just don't have time, and, I'll try to connect them to someone else. So I don't know. I think at some point you don't get approached with the really stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I'm only approached to do, low budget or comp work for, for clients that I respect.
Well, and I noticed something. I think this is probably a personal question, I guess, for you, from me. I noticed that I haven't been getting, I haven't been doing quite as much run and gun stuff recently.
Mm-hmm.
And it came up the other day. I asked a friend, I was like, hey, I'm not getting asked on a few of these jobs here. Do you know why? And he was like, I think just the way that your Instagram looks, it looks like you only do large jobs now.
There you go.
And I was just like, really? I'll people will come to me and ask me about a job. They're like, I don't know if this would be below you or if you would be able to take this. I'm like, why would this be below me?
Right.
I don't feel like anything is below me.
Right.
I mean, I'll be shooting on an A7 one job, and then the next job I'll be on the Alexa. It's not.
Right.
But did you have that? Or did you have has that happened where it's I feel like probably that.
I agree with you. I think it's what you project. I taught a class at UTA in film last year because I really wanted to reconnect with a film program over there. I'm really good friends with those professors and with the school. And I was proud of the work, and we won a Clio and won a ton of Addies and a bunch of other awards. And so, I shared that work on social media. Well, suddenly I get all of these requests for, can you do this? Can we get this done for free? Can you get some of your students to shoot this for me? I get a lot of that right now.
Yeah.
Which is probably not healthy, right? I'd rather it be the $1 million jobs that I'm projecting.
Yeah. So do you, taking from that then,
mm-hmm.
do you think it's better to share the broadness of your work, or do you just post what you want to get?
I'm happy to share everything that I'm proud of. So,
So-
what the trick is, when you release,
Yeah.
when do you post? For example, on our Reels, project,
Yeah.
I really, only wanted to share 1 or 2 images from that. And we'll talk about it when it happens, right?
Yeah.
Then I'll start sharing when it airs, So I don't know. I think you're probably more intuitive about that than
I just thought it was interesting. It's like I was like, I didn't realize that social had that kind of impact by any means.
Yeah.
Because I get messages back about stuff, but it's not like I'm always getting it. So it's like you don't know how much effect it really has.
Right.
I guess until someone said that to me.
Yeah.
I was like, really? You get that impression? I was like, I was just trying to take cool photos on set.
Right.
And like I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I post more about the cool stuff when the cool stuff is happening. 'Cause
Right.
It's interesting to me.
Right. Yeah.
But
I get that from time to time. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we can afford you.
yeah, well, it's just like, oh, that budget is actually totally higher than my day rate. Yeah, I'll take that.
Sure. Right. That's good.
Is there any kind of filter that you use when you're putting, not like actual filter, but like, is there anything that you kind of filter your posts through, or do you just kind of share just whatever?
No, I mean, it has to be of quality. We're starting this new studio production company called 1,000 Foot Squid. So I'm slowly starting to release one piece for each filmmaker, for each director on Facebook. So that, that's my plan on the website going into it. I don't want you to go into it like it's a menu and just click and look at the entire director's reel. I'd rather it be entertaining and engaging for you. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be filtering substantially moving forward. And same for social. I mean, I think it's nice to make sure everyone knows that you're busy and you're working. But
Yeah.
I try to control that a little bit.
Yeah, interesting. So as far as the thoughts on going into you teaching and working with them, a question I've seen pop up a few times now is thoughts on teaching other people and like mentoring and stuff like that, but then also worrying about them maybe potentially turning around and either stealing your tricks or like stealing your clients.
Stealing clients is a good one. Yeah, see, I don't mind them stealing the tricks, right? Good luck. I have seen work on air that other agencies have clearly said, like there was a Dior campaign that came out a couple of years ago that was an exact ripoff of something I had done for Dexter. It was clear that the Paris-based advertising agency had seen that work and said, we will take this because no one probably saw this in America, And they got Brad Pitt, and they shot the exact same thing that I had shot for Dexter.
Yeah. Just like that. That's how they said it.
I think it was exactly like that, where they said it in English with a bizarre French accent. So I've been ripped off on air, The Ritz-Carlton had an in-room video playing on their monitors that was an exact rip-off of something I had done. Even the music, the styling, everything was exactly to where, I'm just laughing about it.
Yeah.
I was available. I could have done that for them, right?
How do you take that?
It's a compliment because you feel like, oh, I'm really out there. I'm really pushing the envelope, right?
Yeah.
I must be doing it right because clearly other people want to rip me off. There was a production designer in California who decided he was going to become a director, and he sent me a reel of his work back when we shared them on DVDs, and the first spot on his reel was something I had shot, right? So
And he was trying to pass it off as his own.
His own. It says, it had his name on it. It said director. So I had to call him and say, hey, dude, first off, I am flattered. You clearly could have stolen work from anyone in the world, but you chose my work to steal. And I'm just thank you for that, right?
And you said that to him?
Yeah, but, I question all the rest of the work on the reel, it not being
It was
yours.
really, yeah.
Yeah, but tricks, yeah. Clients is another thing. I've seen that firsthand, by the way, where, like I said, clearly we were walking on a tightrope and we made it look easy. And so clients would bring someone along to observe, right? So they would have them on to watch what I was doing and take notes for a week.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, I turn around and they've hired that person to do the work, right? And then the whole truck caught fire and it was a disaster, right? And then ultimately the agency lost the client, right? Because they took a shortcut and they thought we can do this, for less money with someone else. So I think that's a mistake on the agency's part. If they're willing to take that risk, then
It says something about the agency.
great. I've got other stuff to do.
Yeah.
I've got more mountains to climb. If they want to steal agency or clients, have at it.
Does that taint at all how you kind of mentor people and teach and all that?
Absolutely not. I am 100% happy to share any and all knowledge with anyone who wants to have it. I didn't have anyone in my life like that. I had textbooks and didn't have YouTube or Vimeo.
And over the long run, how has that worked out for you?
I think it's been really, really good, really positive. I've had many folks wind up working with me and for me that have come from that shared knowledge. I always tell young folks starting out, I say, be beware of people who are guarded with their knowledge. So, for example, and I'm sure you see it, when you're asking questions about technology, often the person who will be most guarded with that information will be the one you don't want to work with. And sometimes it's the person you're buying the gear from, right? So I just, I think anyone who's too guarded with their knowledge or information isn't safe,
And why would you say that? Where does that stem from, do you think?
I think it is they're protecting themselves. They're protecting their job, which is fine. But I just want a team of people that are all communicating, right?
Yeah.
If the NASA team had been fully on board with each other, right? Whether it was, metric measurements or inches, we would have saved a $700 million probe that smashed into the planet because one department of scientists wasn't talking to the other department, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they got their measurements wrong. We don't want those accidents. So I think it's healthy that we're all communicating and we're sharing our knowledge because it's only going to get better, right? Like, when we're sharing information, the craft grows. We're all growing together. It's an evolving.
Do you worry about that? I guess I go back to the parable of the seed, sowing the seed. Do you worry about your seed falling on dry ground then? Or do you sow it and you just keep going?
I have a feeling, yes. I mean, certainly at a university level, you've got a class full of folks that you don't know, right? You haven't picked those students.
Yeah.
But you can see the all-stars, right? One of my all-stars in that class is screening her short film at the Dallas International Film Festival, where I'm going to be screening in 2 weeks. So I'm proud of her. I'm excited for these people because hopefully, they mature and they create work, and we're all benefiting from that. Certainly, I think the industry in Texas or in Dallas, I think, could benefit from more shared information. Production companies are very guarded, they especially commercial production houses,
Yeah.
So I just think, again, with confidence, you go into it knowing that you're going to try to be prolific and do great work and share your techniques. I used to, when I would do telecine on film, I used to take the images before they went to digital tape, right? This is how we did that. And I would squeeze them just half a millimeter left and right. So that before the film went to tape, that was my trick. Because that meant that if another DP tried to copy me, And they would shoot, and they would look at the two images, and I would hear it. I'm like, how are you doing this? Why is your film always so much prettier than my film? I would hear. And it was like a magic mirror, right? All my people looked a little skinnier and a little taller and a little, prettier. And it wasn't something that you could even see on the scope. It was just such a slight little tiny thing. And you learn techniques. Like I remember seeing David Fincher do that for a Madonna video back in the 90s. Where he took a pass of the film that they had edited and he defocused it and he ran it over a pass in focus, right? Simple dissolve between the out of focus pass and the sharp pass. What happened is it looked like you had polished the colors, like everything had a polish to it, yet it was still in focus and sharp, It was a little halo, a little glow.
So it was just kind of smoothing almost.
And now that's an app, right? Your
Yeah.
iPhone has that app, I'm sure, right now. But back then, that was a technique. And so I was like, okay, I can steal that from him. And I'm going to make my film, I'm going to do that on my stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you learn. And if you're seeking the knowledge, right?
You're going to continue finding new knowledge.
Absolutely.
That's to me, I follow to me, I want to share as much as I can because honestly, I feel like half the people that I'm sharing it with, I probably will end up working for someday.
Heck yeah.
And so it's like, if they have good memories of me when they get to the higher positions, it's like, I'll still have a job.
It's also in how you apply it, right? The things you learn that you take along with you. We were doing a 7-Eleven commercial in Vancouver, and there we had scouted multiple setups, a ton of company moves, right? So we'd scouted this one location where the truck was supposed to open at dawn with fresh sandwiches, right? We'd scouted during the day. When we get there at night, the truck's there, the electric's all plugged in, the dolly track's all set up, cribbing's down. Well, lo and behold, in the background, there's a Morton's of Chicago red neon, as plain as day, that we didn't see during the daylight, right?
Yeah.
So now the post house is like, okay, we'll rotoscope it. It'll be, $1,500 an hour, probably 10 hours of work. So it's $15,000. We approve the overage. The agency signs off on the overage. This is all happening on set while I'm trying to get the camera in place and get the exposure and figured out.
Yeah.
And I walk over and I'm like, what just happened? They're like, oh no, we're fine. We're going to rotoscope it. We're going to paint it out, in post. So just go, Norry. You don't have to recompose. I'm like, wait a minute. I took a little bit of nose grease, put it on the lens. It's gone. They're like, what happened? I'm like, yeah, I took care of it with with a little bit of nose grease. They're like, oh, okay, perfect. Okay, continue. I'm like, okay.
Most expensive nose grease ever.
Sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You have an old school way of doing things. We didn't have digital, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
You're shooting Westerns and you're doing day for night with a filter and don't see the sky, right? We'll get on a high, cliff and look down at the horses. It'll look like night, make it blue. We do stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're magicians. Same for magic. I'm good friends with some really leading edge mentalists, right? And card magicians. And their tricks and the things that they're doing, they're sharing with each other, right? I did this thing. I'm going to share it with you, right? And they'll tell me about it. And then I'll apply it to, my on-set wizardry. And but it's not, it's shared information. They're not guarded about it. They're quite honest about how the illusion worked. It's how you apply it. It's how you integrate it into your day. Like, what are you doing to how do you make that part of your act, right?
Yeah.
So it's your trick, but it's the way you use it, that makes it you. If it's a lens or if it's a way you look at the light, if it's something like that, it's not a trick. It's part of why people are hiring you,
Yeah.
The tricks are good to know. You need to know the tricks.
Oh, yeah. And always having new ones and constantly, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we'll end it there. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure.
That was
Brandon.
awesome talking.
Thank you for having me.
So I loved what he was talking about there with transparency and everything.
Yeah.
I actually just got done with, I don't know if I told you, the altar. It was me and Matthew Ross. We did a project for Music Bed. And we
cool.
just got done with that. And afterwards we got done. I was talking to my AC and I was really just like, man, like, what can I do? What can I do better? He just talked about how valuable that communication is on set, that transparency. One of my questions was like, how can I respect you more?
Yeah.
What can I do to show you more respect, to make you feel more valuable? After listening to what Norry had said. And essentially what he kept coming back to, and I asked a few other crew members as well, is like just transparency.
Yeah.
Like just keep us informed. Like that is the highest form of respect. Is like if you can just let us know what's happening, like it one helps them to serve the whole team better.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it's also like they just feel like they're important enough to that we would feel like they need to be included.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes to like respect, like respecting your crew, respecting also like your clients, having them be like transparent with you and you with them. For instance, I was just on a job where we were kind of missing on a lot of like the interviews that we were supposed to be doing. We were doing some like run and gun like doco stuff, and like all the interviews kept like falling through. But like our clients, we had really good relationships, so they kept that transparency throughout. They're like, hey, like just like we might have to be waiting like a few hours to like see if we can scrounge up another like interview, and then just me passing that on to my crew, and then them being like, okay, like we're game for whatever, like we'll just do whatever it takes to get it done. So
yeah, it's fascinating how quickly just keeping someone in the dark can have them
have a negative impact on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But man, cool. Well, that was a great podcast, a great guest. I'm sure we'll have him on again.
Yeah. Great job in that interview. It's so fun listening to Norry also.
I think I haven't officially decided. I guess people will know by now, but I think I'm calling it How to Direct Like a Magician.
I like that.
Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Michael.
Of course. Thank you guys, everybody, for listening.
Until next time.
Yeah.